Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. It's Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you by the Atlantic City Airport. Plan your summer vacation now. Spirit Airlines is offering nonstop flights from Atlantic City International Airport to Boston, Atlanta, San Juan, Miami, and other exciting destinations. Visit spirit.com. I'm Mike Gill, Jeff Mosher, and this man, Adam Caplan, is in the house for Happy Hour Friday. We're taking a look at Adam's. Where would he rank Jalen Hurts within the NFL teams, his quarterback tiers, based on Adam's thoughts on this? A lot of people taking a look at the quarterbacks as we get ready to enter the training camp portion of the season. We're going to be there in about a month from now. Everybody taking a look at the list of all the starting quarterbacks. And most of the starting quarterbacks, by the way, Adam, seem to be pretty much locked in. I guess there's a couple of jobs that are up for grabs, but we're going to zone in on your list of the quarterbacks and where we'll find out where you think Jalen Hurts sits on the Adam Caplan list of quarterbacks in the NFL. How are you, pal?
Good to talk to you. Yeah, I've been asked about this a lot, and I've kind of refrained from giving my list, but I said, you know what? We're 5 weeks away from training camp. OTAs are over officially now in the NFL. Today was the last day. The Eagles were done. The first team done anyway last week. I'm going to do it. I was like, I know so many coaches, and I've talked to executives who've worked with these players and so forth. So I'm taking the analytical look. It's not just tape study. It's numbers. It's talent, arm strength, athleticism, progression reading, coachability, durability, off the field stuff, and so forth. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm just taking it the way the teams look at these players, and I'm going to go from there.
Right. So I guess we'll start from the bottom up here as Adam. We take a look at some of the poor quarterback situations because people think, hey, the Eagles need an upgraded quarterback. Well, it seems that there's a bunch of teams and quarterbacks that are worse situations than what Philadelphia has right now.
Oh yeah, look, we're dropping a show Monday. We call it our annual roster review in the off season, and we're starting with offense. And just give you a little nugget for Monday's show. We talk about kind of how the Eagles see Jalen Hurts, how the league sees him, but it's not just that. It's kind of where he's at, his contract, Gardner Minshew, what he's done, how the league sees him. We actually, I don't know if you probably know this. We had John DeFilippo on, who was the former Eagles quarterbacks coach for the Super Bowl, and also Coach Minshew. And John told us about 5 weeks ago, and I forgot about this, that Minshew had 7 Pepsi Rookie of the Week awards in 2019. So the guy's got talent. I mean, he's clearly one of the better backup quarterbacks in the National Football League. But I think as we saw last season, there's a limit in arm strength. But they're in okay shape. But what it has to happen is Hurts must take the next step. He just did not play well enough last season, if we're being honest here. But the great thing is, Mike, he's had a good offseason. We put this on our previous show, what the team thinks about his offseason, and we'll go from there.
All right, we take a look at some of the situations. You rank Jalen based on arm talent, arm strength, talent overall, athleticism, progression readings, his coachability, his durability. So where would he kind of rank within NFL teams' quarterbacks when you put the whole list together? Where do you kind of have him sitting on the pecking order?
Yeah, so I've got him now. You set this up well. Don't forget Seattle. My sources with Seattle think that Drew Lock will wind up being the quarterback by landslide. The job's wide open. Remember now, in Niners, they have 2 guys because they've not traded Jimmy Garoppolo yet. They badly want to, but because he's come back from bad shoulder surgery, they don't have the clear starter. Trey Lance. I think in the end, he is a project. I'm a fan of his. Mike, I've got Lance at 25, right? Because he's only started, he's barely played. I mean, because he only played when Garoppolo got hurt, but he just doesn't have enough. He's almost like an incomplete. But I put him in the 20s. I have him at 25. So let me give you my thought process on Hurts here. I have him at number 19 now. I'm including 33 quarterbacks because of basically 33 quarterbacks because the Seahawks have dual starters because they don't. The Niners have dual starters because they haven't traded Garoppolo yet. Where I'm just putting Seahawks and Falcons quarterbacks as one. Those jobs are open, but they're so bad. I'm just put them at the bottom. But Mike, in the end, I've got Hurts at 19. Now, some people think I'm crazy having Mac Jones behind Hurts. Mac Jones might be a better passer at this point. I wouldn't argue that point. He clearly is. But Mac Jones is not the athlete of Hurts. He's very limited arm strength. You can't run part of your playbook because Mac Jones simply can't make certain throws. Well, Hurts has got a little bit of a better arm. Neither is big physically. Hurts is only 6'1". Mac Jones is not really big physically. To me, the difference between two quarterbacks right now is clearly the ability to break the pocket or to have design runs. Mac Jones can't run. That, to me, has major value for a football team. I understand, and I'm not arguing that Hurts is not as good as a passer right now, but I'm including everything. If you want to put Mac Jones ahead of him, I'm fine with it. I kind of wrestled with it as I put together my list. I went through a lot, and I know how coachable Hurts is. My issue and the reason why I don't have him in the upper half is clearly he's not a good enough passer. But based on what I'd learned the last month, we put this on our show from our sourcing on this, is that his offseason, I'll give you one nugget from a previous show, Mike, his ability to go off the first progression, which is a real problem last year, is much better. Now, I know they were only doing 7-on-7s, but he did a much better job of it. His timing was much better. Now we'll see what happens when they do 11-on-11 when the pads go on in training camp. But I'm just gonna feel right now that what I'm hearing about his offseason is actually real. So that's why I've got him right now over Mac Jones, Jared Goff, Justin Fields, who's a project. Tua, not good enough. Doesn't throw the ball well enough downfield. He's a check-down quarterback. He's more of a point guard guy. Get it out. Boy, they are loaded, by the way, the Dolphins in pass targets. They might have the NFL's best pass target group. So I've got, to finish this off, I've got Hurts ahead of those guys.
Yeah, now there's a couple of things on this list that I want to kind of pick your brain on. By the way, you have Hurts at 19, and I don't really feel like I have much of a problem with anybody ahead of him on this list. You got Tannehill, 18, Garoppolo, 17, Cousins, 16. Wentz, though, at 15. Let's get into your brain a little bit there. I mean, are you saying that you think he has a bounce-back year? Are you telling people that you thought he played well last year? I'm sure people would see 15 Wentz and say, all right, Adam Caplan, what are you seeing there?
Sure. So here's the thing with Carson Wentz. He actually played pretty well last season until the last two games, particularly the last one was an abomination against Jacksonville. So if you say, well, if the guy played fairly well, why isn't he higher? It's simple. Leadership, coachability, poor. You have to be available for your teammates in your club. And when the owner, and you and I have talked about this, I've never seen an NFL owner go publicly after his quarterback. It was just remarkable. And then the GM, Chris Ballard, did, but not as badly as Jim Irsay did. And that's poor. I mean, that tells you a lot. Now, again, he played fairly well. He's got very good arm strength, decent enough athlete. He used to be better before the knee injury. Very good progression reader. I can't put him any higher than 15 because he's not a good enough leader. And durability is terrible. Though, we should mention, he had a stress fracture last summer which got repaired. He never missed a game. That shows me his toughness. But again, coachability and durability overall are in question. Not just me saying it. It's public knowledge, and that's why he cannot be higher than 15.
Now, right ahead of him, let's dive into him. At number 14 is the Colts quarterback, Matt Ryan. So do you see Matt Ryan and that Colts team taking a bigger step forward, or are they about a 500 team, even with the quarterback change?
Mike, this one was one where I wanted to put him higher, but he's an older quarterback, has zero athleticism. Yeah, he's incredibly durable, though, good progression reader. Arm strength better than average, not great. Coachability, again, durability very good. But he's in the twilight of his career. He's a solid quarterback. He's not the same guy he used to be. He's got enough in him. He's got maybe 2 years left in him. In fact, the structure of his contract would suggest he'll be there with the Colts no matter what through 23. But he's a leader. He's coachable. Durability's good. He's just not an athlete. Arm strength just slightly above average. He did get the Super Bowl once. I cannot put him higher than the younger guys, but I got him over Carson Wentz. Why? Because he's a better leader.
So you have these kind of broken into tiers, top 10, 11 through 15, 16 through 20, and then 21 through 33. I want to bounce down to the bottom here because there's a guy, and Andrew and I talked about Trevor Lawrence yesterday. You have him at number 30, which I'm a little surprised by. I mean, he's behind Davis Mills and Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, and whoever the Steelers quarterback is. Are you down on Lawrence, or is this more what are the red flags that you have him all the way down at number 30?
He did not play well. I'm trying to be as nice as I can. Now, I know that there were issues on their offensive line. Coaching was terrible last season, Jacksonville. I'm not denying that, but he did not play well. He has decent athleticism. He has a good arm. He had trouble with progression reading. There were a lot of issues here were not in his control. Just the atmosphere was terrible. But he needs to show me more. For a guy that's the first pick overall who was really touted, he's got to play better than this. But I believe eventually he'll be a good quarterback. Plus, with Doug Peterson there, you feel good. Though Press Taylor, we know there were questions about him, and we have to just see how he develops. But I'm a little bit more down initially in his career than other people would be. And I do believe, again, to be clear here, he'll eventually be a good quarterback. But it's where he is now. He simply has not been good enough.
You know what's very interesting about the back end of your list here, Adam, is Jared Goff, number 1 overall pick. Justin Fields, what was he, 2, right?
No, Fields was actually Justin Fields, I'll look very quickly here, but he was traded up. Remember, it was actually, what's funny about that Justin Fields trade? The Bears and Eagles were talking. The Bears made the same offer they made to the Giants, and they wound up, as you know, making that trade with the Giants because the Eagles didn't want to do it and other teams backed out. He was actually the 11th pick overall in 21.
So you have Fields at 11, but then you have Tua was 3, Winston was 1, Lance was 2, Daniel Jones was, I believe, 5, Darnold was 2. If Trubisky starts, he was 2. Lawrence was 1. Wilson was, 2. There's a lot of guys drafted in the top 10 that are in the bottom half of the league at quarterback right now. I guess that shows you how hard it is to find the guy, because there's a lot of guys that are drafted outside the top 10. Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, Tannehill was somewhere in the middle of the first round. Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins was a fourth round pick.
Fourth rounder,
yes.
Yeah.
Brady at the top, obviously. It seems that drafting a guy that high, it's almost a flip of the coin.
Well, I remember we talked to Bill Polian, the Hall of Fame general manager on Inside the Birds television last year. Bill said even the best are less than 50-50 on first-round picks. That's not even counting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's just that there's so much goes into evaluation. You're trying to be objective about a subjective process. It's subjective because you're trying to project 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olders to the next level. It's really hard to do. And some teams just miss on certain things. Look, Bill told us about the Ryan Leaf situation versus Peyton Manning. It was 50. He could have made the mistake, but he had very good information. He got it right. And obviously the Chargers got it really wrong. They had bad information. They completely missed. It's no different when the Browns didn't think Carson Wentz was good enough. They didn't have him in their top 20, which is absurd. The Browns have historically been terrible at evaluating quarterbacks. Isn't it funny, by the way, why some teams are so great at it or good at it? Some teams can never get it right at quarterback.
Now, that said, you don't have Baker Mayfield on this list. He is not currently a starter.
We don't know where he is. Yeah,
but
exactly.
What tier would you have him in? Is he ahead of? Is he in that Kirk Cousins, Garoppolo, Tannehill, Hurts, Mac Jones? Is he better than those guys, or is he somewhere in that bottom 10?
All right, so Baker Mayfield, first of all, he doesn't have. He's part of the Browns, but they're trying to move him to Carolina. Carolina is talking to them. They have some interest, not as much interest that has been reported or speculated.
Is he even better than Darnold?
Well, yes, he is.
Okay.
He is. Now, here's the problem. Durability, really banged up last season. He's 6'1". He's what we call a small 6'1", small frame. He had trouble getting out of his own way. I give him credit for playing through injury, but he's a smaller frame guy. He was terrific in 2020. He didn't get off to a great start last season. He was never right physically. He got hurt in week 2. He worries me, his body type. Also, coachability for him. Think of it this way. The guy was terrific in 2020. He was hurt in 21. Now they want to get rid of him. They want no parts of him, by the way. No parts of him. That's not a good sign. So where would I put him? I put him somewhere on Mac Jones and Hurts. That's where I see Baker Mayfield, because he's on a downward slide right now.
Yeah, which is interesting because the Watson thing seems to be taking twists and turns almost every single day, and you wonder, what are they going to do if Watson is suspended?
Well, look, it's not a secret around the National Football League. Watson is highly expected to be suspended for a minimum of 6 games. No one knows if it'll be 8, 12, a season. Nobody knows. But the fact of the matter is, with Mayfield, he wants out. They want to trade him.
There's no fixing that, right?
That have interest. What's that?
There's no fixing that, right?
No. The problem. Well, it's fun. That's what I'm going to get to. So one of the teams who was involved trying to get Mayfield, or had interest in Mayfield during the draft, told me that their intel would be that Mayfield will never play for them because he can't. He thinks the organization lied to him, and he's been kind of public about it in any interviews. He felt like he wasn't dealt with fairly, and to this day, we don't know, other than some maturity issues, what is the real problem with him. But it's very telling that this team wanted to bail on him after last season. It was very clear.
It's a wild situation there. Who they got? Tyrod Taylor is who's the backup there? Actually,
it's a guy who's done this before, where he's had to play, and it's Jacoby Brissett. Remember, he replaced Andrew Luck. He's a bottom. Nick Sirianni coached him, by the way, with the Colts. He's a below average quarterback. I don't know why they traded Case Keenum. That was their situation at quarterback. To me, was bizarre. I don't know what they were thinking about trading Case Keenum. That was dumb. He knows that offense. They should have kept him. That was a mistake.
Okay, now the real interesting part here, let's look at your top 10. You got Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers at 5, Mahomes 4, Matthew Stafford has jumped way up to number 3, Josh Allen, and there he is, Tom Brady, still number 1. But some interesting things. I've seen Burrow all over the place in people's lists, as high as number 1. You have him at 8, Herbert 6 for you. Stafford ahead of Mahomes and Rodgers, though.
See, I've been a Stafford apologist. I always said, could you put look, he's not Tom Brady, okay? But he played with so many bad teams, so much bad talent. Calvin Johnson, obviously, is a Hall of Famer, but he hasn't had much talent around him in Detroit. Now with Los Angeles, he had 40 touchdown passes in the regular season. He was terrific. Just won a Super Bowl. He might even actually win another one. He's a terrific quarterback. It's all about, you got to put talent around a guy, and the Rams have done a great job of it. I got him over Mahomes. Now, Mahomes does not have Tyreek Hill. Mahomes did not finish last season well. I don't know what happened in that second half of the Bengal game. He just imploded. Can't explain it. Still an elite quarterback, a good athlete, super arm. He dropped off a little bit last season. You want to have Mahomes over Stafford? I wouldn't argue with it. I have Stafford over. He's a better passer. He's shown ability to play through injury. He's a decent progression reader, coachable. Arm strength is elite. He's not a great athlete. Mahomes he's a scrambler, less of a runner, but he's a really good scrambler. But overall, I got Stafford over Mahomes.
All right, and you still got the ageless wonder, Tom Brady. He's still at the top of the list.
Yeah, people don't agree with this, but folks, show me where he's dropped off. I don't see it. He's going to get now. The problem is Chris Godwin tore his ACL. They don't know exactly when he'll be ready. They signed Russell Gage from Atlanta, who will play a lot. Now, I'm a little concerned with Gronk. If Gronk doesn't come back, that's a little concerning. But the Bucs are going to go far, my friend. They're going to go far in the playoffs if Gronk comes back, because he really needs to. They really are hurting at tight end. Cameron Brate's decent, but he's not Gronk. But overall, Brady's lost nothing, and he's the most complete quarterback in the league because he does everything well, except run, but they don't need him to run. He'll never need to run because he gets rid of the football quickly.
All right, Adam Caplan's football ranks right there. His quarterback ranks, I should say. Good list there. A lot of fun to kind of break it all down. Of course, Football at 4, InsideTheBirds.com. The Inside the Birds podcast, Monday morning, 6 a.m. on your way to work. Download that. Adam Caplan and Jeff Mosher. Mosher's back on Monday. This edition of Football at 4 is in the books. Have a nice weekend, pal.
You too. Thank you.
All right, there's Adam Caplan, his list of quarterbacks